Podcast with hosts Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Jon Impemba. Let's talk some baseball. Got a nice slate coming up for all of you tonight to begin your Monday. We'll go over some totals, possible weather concerns, give our favorite value plays, and of course, those top tier plays as well, and fades. J.I., what's good?
Fancy, how we doing, man? Yeah, happy to be with you. It's been a little bit since you and I have been able to get on camera and talk some ball, man.
Dude, I had to make this reservation like 3 weeks ago, man. You're a tall order, and everyone wants to be hosted shows with you. So the pleasure is all on this side of the screen, my friend. You ready to talk some baseball tonight?
Yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about. Like you said, we got 8 games on the main slate. We got our RT Sports DFS pick'em plays to get to here tonight. All wrapping it up for everybody, hopefully answering your questions. If you got them as they roll in, I'll read them out. Fancy and I can certainly help you set those lineups. We'll build a lineup at the end of the show as well, hopefully to keep a good run of success going here for those tuning into the Better Baseball stream, man.
Absolutely. And Jon Impemba on the DFS MLB playbook. Go to fantasyalarm.com. Definitely check it out. Go over possible weather concerns. John, you actually noted it in your playbook, and I was looking at the weather radar before because I nerd out on stuff like that.
Right.
The weather that's in New York, the bad stuff, don't think it's going to impact the Mets game tonight. I think it's going to be happening. A lot of you, if you're in that New York area in Queens, you're going to be getting the rain in the overnight, but I don't think it's going to impact the baseball game, John. So I think outside of that, really nothing else concerning at all.
Yeah, that's what I kind of looked at too. The more recent updates have suggested that there's just not much going on during gameplay here. Now, you know, it's summertime, always the possibility of some sort of pop-up showers here or there in certain locations. But when it comes to the rain in that game for the Pittsburgh and the Mets, it doesn't seem like it's anything big is going to happen there until after the game. So it should be all systems go there for the Pirates-Mets tonight.
Yep. Here's some of the totals for tonight's games here. The Pirates Mets at 10.5 tonight. Yankees Braves at 9. Athletics Cardinals also at 9. 8.5 for the Angels Rangers. And then 8.5 for Mariners Royals as well. 11.5 for the Coors Field game between the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. And then an 8 total for the Orioles Padres and 7.5 for Rays and the Giants here. A couple of lefties on the hill tonight, including Max Fried, JP Sears, and Patrick Sandoval. So we're going to have to take advantage there of those lefty pitchers, J.I., and something we can talk about as we now shift to our RT Sports Pick'em here. And by the way, as we were talking about before with RT Sports Pick'em game, as we're going to give our picks here, you can play the real-time sports daily Pick'em contest, set a lineup of player props, hit them all, and win NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, and more. Go to rtsports.com/BSN or rtsports.com/alarm. First-time depositors get 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit codes ALARM23 and BSN23. Again, 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit codes ALARM23 or BSN23. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. J.I., let's talk about what we're looking at when it comes to the RT Sports Pick'em game tonight here. What is your first pick that you're going with?
Yeah, for me, when it comes down to our top plays here today, he was the cover of the playbook. And he's been someone that we've been going with a lot here. It's the Atlanta Braves first baseman, Matt Olson. We're going more than 1.5 total bases for him tonight. Clark Schmidt, the Yankees starting pitcher, has really struggled against left-handed power bats, allowing a .500 slugging percentage this season, the left-handed power bats. Home run leader in the major leagues right now, Matt Olson on a roll. Another great matchup. He can do it in one swing, a little more than the 1.5 total bags.
I love that very much. 6,500, by the way, on DraftKings there. I mean, when it comes to whether he's batting against lefties or righties, this guy, like you said, very powerful player indeed. For me, I'm going to go with Wilson Contreras, more than 1.5 total bases. So take the over on that. When it comes to Contreras, was looking up some numbers on how he does, again, taking advantage of the lefty pitching here with JP Sears, hitting 294, John, against lefties. And this is not only in the price point on him tonight, very fair indeed. He's not top price catcher, and we're going to have to take advantage not only on the RT Sports Pickup game, but also in our DFS lineups as well.
100%. Another great matchup, again, going up against JP Sears, who really gives up a lot of power to right-handed bats here. So big fan of Contreras. He's, again, one of my favorite plays here of the day as well. My final pick for tonight when it comes to RT Sports and our DFS Pick'em contest here, I'm going with Brian Reynolds, more than 5.5 fantasy points here. Carlos Carrasco has been a pitcher that has really just started to struggle more and more as the season's gone on. He'll be hitting from the left side of the plate. And earlier this year, Carrasco was really doing damage against left-handed hitters. He was getting them out at a very high clip. Since then, the wheels have just sort of fallen off as a whole. The Pirates offense have actually started to put some runs on the board here. So give me Brian Reynolds more than the 5.5 fantasy points.
And my final pick, I'm going right back to the well with the St. Louis Cardinals, going Nolan Arenado. The guy's hit the ball in every game in August so far. And when you're looking at what he's done against lefties, 269, not bad. I mean, this guy is hitting fire in August here. So we might as well keep rolling with him here against Sears. Over 1.5 total bases, by the way.
Yeah, love it. Again, all in on attacking Sears here this evening. More than 1.5 total bases work. So, again, if you go to rtsports.com/alarm, use that promo code ALARM23, get 100% deposit match up to $200 for new users. You can use that deposit match on tonight's 4-pick play here for myself and Fency, Matt Olson, more than 1.5 total bases. Wilson Contreras, more than 1.5 total bases. Brian Reynolds, more than 5.5 fantasy points. Nolan Arenado, more than 1.5 total bases. An opportunity to 10x your money over at realtimesports.com here this evening. Fency, time to shift gears here. Start breaking down what we got going on when it comes to the DraftKings main slate this evening, sir. Again, we have top pitching on the board here tonight. Talk to me about it, man.
I mean, for me, you're looking at the top two here with Scherzer and Glasnow, especially Glasnow. That's really where it all starts. We all know how good Max Scherzer is, but we all know, especially over the last few weeks, how bad the Giants' bats have been. One of the worst teams in the majors in the hitting department over the last few weeks, hitting like 206 in that span. Yuck. Awful. Tyler Glasnow tonight, 10-8. John, I always like to maybe look a few bucks down in that 8,000 to 9,000 range, but it's hard to ignore Glasnow and even Scherzer for that matter as well.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the strikeout potential for Tyler Glasnow is obviously appealing. You know, the Giants have been a team that have proven to be strikeout prone at times this season. And Glasnow, 8, 9, 7, 8, the last 5 starts for strikeouts. Hopefully he's back, whatever the back issue was that caused him to miss his most recent start. They had to scratch him from that game. So, backs can be pesky. He can go out there, pitch a couple innings, back spasms, act back up, and maybe he comes out. But I'm hopeful that isn't the case tonight because he's definitely a high upside play. Scherzer, again, one of the top players in terms of win projections here tonight, going up against the Angels at 11K, another guy that I think a lot of people will find themselves gravitating towards. One guy you and I maybe are in a little bit of a disagreement with here tonight is Logan Gilbert, though. What worries you about Gilbert going up against his Kansas City offense?
Royals have been hitting a little bit better lately, and that's been the thing. Again, I look at recency. I don't necessarily look at this point in the year, months back. But if you look at the last few weeks, this Royals team has been hitting. And it's more that when I'm looking at the top 3 price points, I just love Glasnow's matchup so much better that I'd rather just go all in on him and not really going as much on Logan Gilbert, despite coming off of the 12 strikeout game.
Yeah.
Could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm overselling the Royals a little bit, but we can't ignore that their bats have been hitting lately, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, a big time. I mean, we've been in on Michael Massey here for a few slates now. MJ Melendez the other day went and had 2 home runs for us here. Bobby Witt. So a lot of great things happening for that Royals offense. Another reason why you may be correct on this here tonight, Fency, winds are blowing out in Kansas City tonight, 15 to 20 miles an hour. So that's a pretty big wind gusts there for that matchup in Kansas City for the Mariners and Royals. So Logan Gilbert generally does a good job keeping the ball in the ballpark this year. Does have some swing and miss potential here. That kind of wind. You get a ball up in the air by Bobby Witt or something like that, MJ Melendez, and you could be seeing some extra balls go over the fence. Likewise for the Seattle offense in their matchup against Brady Singer as well. But that's not a wind gust total that should be ignored there when it comes to that matchup here this evening. Going into the mid-tier range after we move down past Scherzer, Glasnow, Gilbert, What are the names that stand out to you, man?
I mean, I was trying to figure out where I'd go for a value, and I'm wondering, and I don't know if I'm playing with fire here. And sometimes when you play with fire, you get burnt here. But what do you think about Miles Michaelis over the last couple of games? I mean, he's had a few strong starts here going up against Oakland. Now, the big thing with Michaelis was before these last few starts is longevity. That's a little bit of a concern. But you look at the last 2 starts here, he's gone 7 strong in both. He's been striking out a decent amount over those last 2 games, 12 combined here. Do you think that we're playing with fire here, or do you think for 7K it would be worth it? Maybe a little bit more on the contrarian side.
No, actually, I don't think he'll be contrarian at all. I think a lot of people are going to be getting to him tonight. Again, you're looking at a team in Oakland that generally finds the ownership against them being rather high, and on a slate where, there really isn't a lot of strong mid-tier options. There's a couple of guys that I think we can go to here, but when you look at Scherzer, look at Glass now at 11K, 10-8, people want to spend up for one of those 2 pitchers. If you want to get any of the decent bats, I mean, this is a Coors Field slate, so you're going to have some expensive bats in Arizona here tonight. The Braves are obviously on this slate. They're expensive. So if you're looking to spend up tonight, you're going to need to find some value somewhere. And I think going Michaelis here is a way that most people will get that done for their SB2 on DraftKings this evening. I don't necessarily know if I would venture to use him on FanDuel because he doesn't really have the strikeout ceiling that we want on FanDuel, but he won't. I don't think he's going to give up much damage tonight. So I love Michaelis as my SB2. A couple of guys in the mid tier that I would look at. One being Merrill Kelly. No one's going to play him because he's in Colorado and people are afraid of Coors Field, and obviously that in the past that made a lot of sense. But the Rockies' offense is just garbage. It doesn't matter if they're home or away this year. They're just missing a lot of the bats in their lineup that usually do damage. And Merrill Kelly has been a really good pitcher this season. And you look at the pricing for Merrill Kelly, he's generally been a guy around 9K. He's been over 10K a few times, but he's getting the Coors Field bump down in price. They usually bump up hitters for price when they're on Coors. They'll decrease the price for a pitcher when they're in Coors. So we're getting a discount on Merrill Kelly here today going up against Colorado. I think he's going to be a pretty interesting contrarian option. And then Yu Darvish has been a guy that outside of a blip against Pittsburgh, when unfortunately we were touting him rather heavily on this show, he's been dominant, right? Seattle 6 shutout, the Dodgers 7 innings, 2 earned, Texas 6 shutout. Those are some really good offenses. Toronto 6 shutout, Philly 6 innings, 1 earned. So 5 of his last 6 starts, he's allowed 2 or fewer runs. 3 of those 5 starts, he's allowed no earned runs. Getting against a Baltimore team that's coming in and actually kind of slumping a little bit. Yu Darvish at $8,700, I think, is a pretty interesting spot here tonight at home.
Yeah, I mean, Merrill Kelly, I want to go back to this for a second
Go
here.
for it.
Look, cramps are cramps here. It could be because of dehydration, and being that, I'm doing the injury report for fantasyalarm.com, and I'm tracking this over the last few days. There wasn't doubt that he wasn't going to make the start, but it was still questionable for the last number of days, which I believe it was last Wednesday when he got taken out of the start. Do you think that will maybe also turn people off further to Merrill Kelly? Because cramps, they don't do that to me, especially if they don't have some kind of effect where all of a sudden it develops into a low-grade strain. And again, this happened at this point 5 days ago, and we haven't gotten other negative reports about it. They were just monitoring it. So I feel like he's still safe despite what happened last start.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I'm hopeful that maybe that little day-to-day tag that's still riding his name tag here over on DraftKings may keep some ownership low here tonight, because I definitely think he's a guy I'm going to be building a couple of my lineups around. I usually play a 3-max fantasy, so I'll get a couple of shares of pitchers and hitters around, but Merrill Kelly's a guy that I identified on the podcast that played this morning as someone that I was really interested in, and someone I'm going to continue to kind of take looks at, even though he's in Coors Field tonight. Anybody else on the pitching board for you, man?
Well, let's talk about this from Icing Through. He's asking about Grayson Rodriguez tonight from the betting standpoint here, minus 120 for 5.5 Ks for him. I mean, what do you think about Grayson Rodriguez and what Icing Through is asking in our chat, which, by the way, we see the chat. We'll get to all of your questions regarding DFS and a little bit of betting to sprinkle in too.
Yeah, I think it's interesting now, it's more of a borderline line for me. If you just kind of go back and forth, right? He hits 6, he hits 4. He hits 6, he hits 4. So, Vegas knows what they're doing, giving you the 5.5 at the minus.
It's like a season-long pattern with this.
Yeah, the even is the under is probably like minus 110 or something like that tonight. So I don't know. I'm not really in for Rodriguez tonight against the Padres. I mean, I know the talent is there. I know the Padres have slumped, but I don't know. It's not a spot I've gone to, but if you're looking at guys that are under $7,000, he's probably the best of the bunch. So if you're really looking to make a play tonight, you could go Grayson Rodriguez there because, again, he's under 7K, give you a little extra cash. But Yu Darvish is one of the biggest favorites on the board to get a win tonight on DraftKings Sportsbook. So, I mean, odds are strong against Baltimore here in this game. So I'd rather Michaelis if you can find the 600. Probably a fade for me, though. I see through you if you want to go. That's fine. For sure. And yeah, like Fency said, we'll answer your questions, get them in chat. We're more than happy to. See Mark in here forever and always tuning in. Love it. They actually have Michael Harris hitting second tonight, which makes me wonder what do they do to the lineup here? We got an official lineup. We got Acuna, Harris, Riley, Olsen, Art, Darno. No Albies. That's why. No Ozzie Albies tonight because he left yesterday's game with an injury, which is good. One, because Nicky Lopez is in the lineup. I put him in the playbook here this evening, $2,600. Had a monster day, homered off of an infielder during the, unfortunately, the Mets' 21-run loss. So, unfortunately, sorry about that, Fensley, but, the Mets weren't able to.
I'm over it. I'm impervious to the pain at this point.
I was going to say, you're a Mets fan. I didn't want to bring it up, but
you can bring it up.
Had a huge game. So Harris is hitting second in place of Albies tonight, so love that. We're moving on to catcher here, so that's a good time to ask Danger the safety dog, Mitch Garver or Wilson Contreras. Well, if you read the playbook today, I wrote up Wilson Contreras. If you didn't read the playbook, and that's because you're not an all-pro member, what are you waiting for, man? Playbook's out there. Go to fantasyslam.com/all-pro, sign up. You get a 7-day free trial. The 7-day free trial gives you access to everything we have on site and our premium Discord channel. So you can sign up today. Cancel at the end of the week if you think it's not worth it, but I highly doubt that'd be the case.
Well, yeah. What is this canceling? Okay.
I said, yeah, I highly doubt you'll cancel it, but 7-day free trial. Wilson Contreras is where I'm going tonight when it comes to the catcher spot here. Do we have a Rangers lineup? We do. Is Jernaheim in or out of that lineup? Looks like Jernaheim not in the lineup here tonight. Garver hitting fifth against Sandoval. I still go Contreras here. I know that Garver's been hitting the ball really well of late, but I just find myself looking more towards Wilson Contreras here this evening. So
he's like one of my favorite plays of the night. So it's hard for me to go against him.
Sears is just giving up so much power to right-handed hitters this year. Slugging percentage and weighted on base average, and Contreras big ISO numbers against lefties. So
Cardinals against lefties, John. I mean, you're talking about 8th best in the league overall.
Yeah. And that's with Paul Goldschmidt actually sucking this year against left-handed pitching, which is kind of surprising.
Right. I mean, look, he's hitting 283, Arenado 269, Gorman 286, and Contreras 294. I mean, it just like that, even Nootbaar 263. These are all numbers against lefties here, man. So I guess you know where I'm going when it comes to stacking tonight as well.
Yeah, 100%. You know what's actually interesting? Nolan Gorman this year has better numbers against lefties and righties as a left-handed hitter, and JB Sears very bad against left-handed hitters as well. So Nolan Gorman could be the overlooked man in a Cardinal stack tonight because he's a left-handed hitter, but that might actually be the key to being a little bit different on this slate when stacking cards. But we'll talk stacks here, obviously, at the end of the show. Jason Jackson tuning in, asking value third base on FanDuel. I'll take a look over there for you, my friend, and give you some takes for the FanDuel third base position here. I know there's definitely a couple of guys that I want to get to on the slate as we move across. So when we hit third base, we'll touch on that for you. So just stay with us here. Other catches, though, Fensty. So Cal Rowley's been showing some pop. We know that. We just talked about the wind in Kansas City here, blowing 10 to 15 miles an hour. Or was it 10 to 15? It was, 15 to 20 miles an hour out left to right over in Kansas City here. That's good news, right? Because that means it's blowing to the right field power side. Cal Rowley, a switch hitter going up against a righty, means he'll hit from the left side of the plate, which means that pull side is going to be to the right field where that wind is blowing. So, looking to spend up potentially Cal Rowley tonight against Brady Singer could have some nice pop potential here.
He's hit the ball 3 of his last 4 games, and 2 of those games, by the way, white yard. So that right there for 4,500, that's definitely something to look at.
Yep, 1,000% here. Some other guys, like I mentioned, Wilson Contreras, both of you and I, Fancy, our favorite catcher spots here today. I included Jonah Heim in the playbook before the lineups came out. Now that he's out, I'm fine pivoting back to Mitch Garver if he fits your Texas stack. If I'm doing a one-off catcher, it's Contreras. I'm doing a stack. Obviously, Garver fits the mold here. But Mark wants to know what our thoughts here are. Endy Rodriguez, $2,700 switch hitter against Carlos Carrasco here tonight. 810 OPS the last 10 games. He's one of the better prospects in baseball at the time of his call-up here. Any issues going value tonight, Fancy, when it comes to the catcher position?
No, I'm looking up some splits quickly still, but you don't have much when it comes to the
small sample size for Endy. He's only been up for a couple of games.
No, look, I'm totally fine with that. Not a huge Carrasco guy anyway, so I'm fine if you really want to go and be cheap. But I would not sacrifice Contreras though for him. I'll say that.
No.
But if you got a bunch of power bats, you got yourself an all-star lineup, an all-star outfield, and you're spending up there, and you want to go that direction, I don't hate it. But it's going to be very hard for me to be taken off of Contreras tonight.
Yeah, the value play for me, Mark, if you wanted to, you have Endy, obviously he's hitting 6 tonight, so that's a great position in their batting lineup. But the Arizona Diamondbacks released Carson Kelly yesterday. Gabriel Moreno, they are just full on committing now to Moreno, who they got in that trade, Dalton Varsho trade. It was Lourdes Gurriel and Gabriel Moreno going one way. It was Dalton Varsho and some guys going the other way. They activated Gabriel Moreno off the IL yesterday, and then they released Carson Kelly. So $2,500 Gabriel Moreno in Coors Field tonight against Chris Flexen. That is going to be a very popular value play tonight, I think, for those looking to just straight up punt the catcher spot. So look for the official Diamondbacks lineup tonight. Make sure Gabriel Moreno is in there like I would expect him to be, but that's the value play I would go this evening.
Yeah, coming off that hit too. I know that's all we saw, but he still was able to hit the ball in his return from the injured list after being down with the bum shoulder. So again, $2,500, man. Nice cheapy options at catchers. Originally, when I was looking at Cal Raleigh, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go down further, but man, even in our chat right there, Mark, you're on the spot there with what you were saying with Endy and also Gabriel Moreno. Both these guys nice and cheap tonight on DK.
Yeah, nice and cheap for sure. So a lot of catcher options, which is good. Some slates, there's no catcher option fences. And James and I are just sitting here being like, I don't know, man, just click a button, pray they get a hit, like
those 4-game Thursday night slates, man. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. It's like the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, exactly. First base. Talk to me about your favorite first baseman. Obviously, it's loaded at the top with Tony Olson, Pete Alonso even. How are you feeling, man?
I love Olson. We got to talk about Olson first. You were just talking about him in your prop as well. Yeah. Olson has been great. He's the bee's knees at 6,500. You want to look at some of the cheaper options that we were just talking about at pitching and catching. Then all of a sudden you go to first base. Then you could spend big money on this guy. So I got to ask you this, though. So you're not in on Goldschmidt at all because of the matchup tonight?
Yeah, listen, there's just something about Paul Goldschmidt where recent performances hitting 209 or a 500 OPS the last 10. And then a guy that has, always historically hit left-handed pitching really well. This year just hasn't been the case. He just is not hitting left-handed pitching well. And while I like a lot of these Cardinals righties against JP Sears, if you look at the numbers for Sears this year, he's actually getting righties out better than he's getting lefties. So, a little bit of a reverse splits pitcher for Sears this year. Now, that's not going to keep me off of some of these guys that are going to be in the lineup, like Wilson Contreras, Nolan Arenado, Tommy Edman, Tyler O'Neill, Nolan Gorman, as I mentioned. It could be a really sneaky pivot off of him. But for that reason, I'm not putting Goldschmidt as part of those stacks. I'm paying up for Olson. I'm paying up for Ohtani. Even
what about Walker? Walker's been hitting the ball a lot.
Well, that's the thing, right? Coors Field stack, especially with Chris Flexen. I'm going to pull up the Flexen numbers quickly. I wrote them up in the playbook, the numbers for Flexen this year against righties, because I like Lourdes Gurriel a ton here this evening. But just to put into perspective how bad Chris Flexen has been just on a whole in general this season, he's allowing a total home runs, 17 home runs and 49 earned runs over 55 innings. He's only made 20 appearances this year. So in 20 appearances, 7 of those were starts. He's allowed 17 home runs and 49 earned runs. So Chris Flexen is one of the worst pitchers, maybe ever this season. And he's in Coors Field against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So everybody is going to be hammering the Diamondback side of this slate here. So 100%. Like it's almost like I don't want to be repetitive across each position, but like you can play any Diamondback you want tonight. I wouldn't even blink to question you either in your lineup. That's how bad Chris Flexen's been. And the fact that it's in Coors Field, there's going to be a lot of rostership going in those directions here. So yeah, Christian Walker for sure made the playbook grid here this evening as well as a top price guy. For me, I listed them out. Olsen, Alonso, Walker were the top 3 price guys in the playbook for me tonight at first base. Pete Alonso, the power numbers. Most people are oohing and ahhing, obviously, over Matt Olson, and for good reason. But I mean, right behind him is Pete Alonso with 35 home runs and 87 RBI. He's hitting 220. He's not hitting, whatever Matt Olson has for a batting average, and doing it for the Braves. He's doing it for the Mets. So, I like those top 3 guys for me because I didn't really find much else at this position that I wanted to spend down for. I don't know. Was there any value or mid-tier first baseman that kind of popped for you at all?
Yeah, for a second, I was like, because he's there, I mean, Salvador Perez, but then I'm kind of off of him now. I mean, again, I'm looking at the numbers lately, and it's just been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
We're looking over the last few games. So I guess this is going to be the position where we're spending up here. The only other guy that I was thinking about before, but again, trying to take advantage of as many bats as I can. Of course, most we're talking about from St. Louis, from Arizona. But yeah, besides that, man, it really just doesn't look good when you go beyond those top priced options.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Again, I think, Luken Baker's a guy that had some power at the minor league level. If you wanted to straight up punt the position here tonight because of JP Sears and his home run propensities here, you could go at 2K, hitting 8 for the Cards here tonight, but that's as low as I would. The only value play that I would toss out there for sure. Second base. Talk to me about second base, man. When it comes to your top price guys, how are you ranking them out?
I'm feeling good about Ketel Marte. Again, this is where we're going to be going back to. I mean, you want to take advantage of Coors Field, and from what this guy's doing, hasn't homered in a couple of games, but still in recent games giving us RBI production. He's kind of on the every other game hitting streak for him. But at the same time, man, 5,700 for Marte. I think he has one of the best chances of any hitter tonight to go yard. Thinking that with that mentality in Coors Field at 5,700, that was my top guy.
Yeah, just again, put it into perspective because I was waiting for Fangraphs to load while I was pulling up the Flexen numbers. Overall this year, both against righties and lefties, Chris Flexen is allowing a 425 weighted on base percentage, a 593 slugging percentage. That is horrible. Like horrible bad. Just in general. And then you want to go ahead. Righties have a 430 WOBA with a 600 slugging percentage, which is just, again, crazy bad, which is why I think, Walker in a really great spot, Lourdes tonight in a really great spot. But even then, lefties, Marte being the switch hitter, 573 slugging, 400 weighted on base percentage, so just as deadly lefties and righties. So again, play any Diamondback you want here tonight. It's going to be probably a bloodbath there for Chris Flexen. And for that reason, like I didn't really care to spend up at this position outside going Marte. My next guy down was Nolan Gorman because of the JP Sears split stats, but it's not just that Sears being a reverse splits pitcher and struggling against lefties. It's Nolan Gorman as a left-handed hitter actually hitting lefties much better than righties this year. So I think him hitting 5th in that Cardinals lineup may go a little bit overlooked because it's a lefty-lefty matchup, even though the numbers would dictate that's actually favorable for him.
No, absolutely. And when you go down further than that, what do you think about Jeff McNeil, who's hit in his last 7 games, also qualifies in the outfield too.
Yeah.
So you could put him in 2 different spots there and going up and seeing what he's done. I mean, his lefties versus righties splits for him, it's kind of even on the average side of it, but he's not one that really has a ton of power, but that contact right there. And for where we're seeing him going down at 3,500, man, definitely a nice value play, considering that we really can't come to a consensus regarding a value first baseman. We can balance it out with a couple of those values.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to get to a value third baseman that I like here tonight, assuming he's in the lineup. So we'll wait on the official word for that one. But to your point on Jeff McNeil hitting cleanup tonight, Quentin Priester's not been very good in his initial starts here at the major league level. So
10.5 total in that game, John.
Yeah, about that. That's why I was worried about the weather. Like I was hoping the rain would hold out because I think this game could be a little bit sneaky upside. I put the stack section in our MLB playbook here, and there's a stack, in this game that I think is going to be pretty interesting tonight as a contrarian option. We'll hit our contrarian stacks, top stacks, and lineup building a little bit later on in the show. For those of you who are just tuning in, maybe you're new to the program, give us a like and subscribe. Let Fency and I know what you got going on here tonight. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Ryan checking in here. Ketel Marte, Michael Harris, Jake McCarthy, or Corbin Carroll, Jeff McNeil, Tommy Pham. I got to go the first three because I like Marte and Harris much more than I like Carroll, McNeil, and Pham. Carroll's obviously the best overall player there, but I think Marte and Harris are, you're getting two really good players there. And the ceiling for all three of those is greater than McNeil and Pham for me. So going with the first set. How about you, Fency?
It's funny because I was looking immediately at Carroll, McNeil, obviously two guys that we're very focused in on tonight, but I'm going to be in line with you and top step with you with the Marte, Harris, and McCarthy decision, but I could see why Ryan has this quandary here because it is actually closer than you would think here. But all these guys, a lot of them in very good options tonight, but I like the first three better than the second.
Yeah, I've been one of the more bullish people on Michael Harris now for a little bit. I've been a couple of weeks ago, I used $4,000. Like, I think this can be the best dollar per value play on the slate. He didn't end up homering that night, but he had a couple of hits, a couple of runs scored, gave you double-digit fantasy points. And now that he's hitting second tonight, not hitting ninth, he's hitting second tonight. Like, that just increases the value for me with Michael Harris. So, again, that's a defending rookie of the year in the National League, and he's popping right now. So, give me Marte, Harris, and McCarthy.
This Braves team is like...
Yeah, they're loaded.
They are. It's unbelievable. And look at their payroll, too.
Well, that's the thing. They were so ahead of the curve, signing all of these young guys to these 5-6 year deals for money that is very reasonable. Ronald Acuna should be like a $30 million a year player, and he's locked up for like $17 million for the next 5 years. They did that with Riley. They did that with Strider.
The Strider deal, man. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, no team. And you know what the funny thing is that other teams still aren't doing that with their other players. Like, I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm sitting there screaming at them. I'm like, give Bayo and Cassis their money now. Like, get them on these Braves deals. Instead, they're going to play out the arbitration and then sign them for max money when they're up. Like, we just had to give Devers the $300 million. So, the Braves are ahead of the curve, and
the Red Sox haven't learned their lessons yet since letting go of Mookie Betts, huh?
Yeah, no, oh man, it hurts. All right, let's go on over to third base here. I know we had a question earlier from Jason asking about value third baseman over on FanDuel. Have the playbook out there already. We do have the tiers list there. A couple of value third basemen that I put out there: Ezekiel Duran and Buddy Kennedy. Buddy Kennedy is the guy I want to talk about here. Whenever we get the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, I'm seeing if we get any updates on that yet coming out. But Buddy Kennedy, again, one of the better prospects in this organization. He just got called up the other day here. He was hitting 300 at the AAA level in the PCL. If he's in the lineup tonight at $2,700, second and third base eligible, again, we're talking about how expensive Christian Walker is, how expensive Ketel Marte is, how expensive Corbin Carroll is. Well, how do you fit those guys in your lineup? It's by spending $2,700 at third base and still getting exposure to the game. Spending $2,500 on Gabriel Moreno, right? You got to find a value play to put into your stacks here to spend up on those guys. So I think Buddy Kennedy is a pretty interesting spot here at 27 against Chris Flexen, assuming he is in that lineup here tonight. Hopefully we'll get that sooner rather than later because they sent down Emmanuel Rivera, so that spot's open for Kennedy to keep playing. So for value tonight, I think I'm going Buddy Kennedy. Jason, if you're looking for a value third baseman, that's where I'm going.
I love your Duran call, though. The matchup that the Rangers have tonight makes me miss the hell out of Josh Young.
Yes.
Because the matchups like these, man, Josh Young been cashing so much for us this year. Obviously dealing with a thumb injury, though, so he's not in, though. But Duran, who's been helping out there and really a utility guy for this team. You've seen what he's done lately. He's hit 4 in his last 5 games, 5 hits combined in his last 2. 3,800, I'll take it.
100%. Great. Again, another guy that helps you fit in your stacks because Corey Seager, super expensive. Adolis Garcia is super expensive. Trying to get these builds in for the Rangers here tonight. Love that he's hitting 6. There's a period of time where Duran was sort of hitting at the bottom of the lineup, made him a little bit tougher to stack with the middle order there, but certainly fits well. I think Brian Hayes could be a guy that flies a little bit under the radar. He had a couple home runs, a stretch here, 3 homers in 4 games going on there last week. So Didn't obviously play pinch hit yesterday, but get him back in there for the doubleheader. If you get him out here tonight against Carrasco, I've been hitting leadoff for the Pirates lately. Could be a good spot to see if he can keep that hot thunder going.
Yeah, high-priced guy, too, like I mentioned before, just to go full circle, Nolan Arenado. I mean, obviously, the guy's been hitting machine in August. Yeah. And again, these guys against lefties, he's another one, just very good against them as well. So that's why I love the over 1.5 total bases as well on RT Sport.
Yeah. Listen, the one thing about this, too, is like he's hitting lefties well, but he's also hitting well right now, like you said, which is huge. Sometimes you have these guys in great splits, but they're just not – they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Right now, Arenado, 357 average, 948 OPS, lost 10. So he's locked in and going into a matchup that we expect him to have some success in there. So third base, again, pretty strong. If you wanted to go Austin Riley hitting third tonight, you could. Schmidt's actually pretty good against righties, which is why I've stuck mostly to the lefty bats in this Atlanta lineup tonight. But we know the kind of power that he possesses here. Shortstop, Fensty. Talk to me, man.
Dude, I almost want the easy way out and go with Duran here as well here because he qualifies.
Yeah.
This was the toughest position for me, man. Because, again, we were talking about this before with Gilbert versus the Royals here. Am I really going to have that big of stones to go with Bobby Witt tonight here at 5,900? I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do that tonight going with the matchup that he's got.
Love the power he has. Love the stolen base potential that he brings to the table. He's obviously heating up. That batting average has risen immensely over the last 2.5 weeks with the way he's been rolling. And as we talked about it, man, the wind is blowing out 15 to 20 miles an hour in Kansas City tonight. So, ball gets in the air against Gilbert. We could see some balls go over the fence. So I get it. Seager, obviously super expensive. Probably can fit him into some of your one-off plays here or lineup stacks for the Rangers only. The mid-tier is kind of where I lived. You called out Duran already. I liked that play.
You got to love Tommy Edman too, right?
Yep, that's exactly where I was heading here. Tommy Edman this year against left-handed pitching. 353 weighted on base average, 238 ISO, 833 OPS for Tommy Edman this year against lefties. And to boot, he's leading off. So how can you not like that as part of your card stack tonight?
It's funny, and I'll have to go back to RT Sports. I thought I saw this. So Tommy Edman, what do you think about this for RT Sports Pickup 2? Tommy Edman over half a run tonight.
I mean,
I don't like those bets normally, John.
Sure.
I'd rather bet the total bases 1,000 times over the runs. This guy, though, has been producing, and he's been crossing the plate a lot lately. From the numbers you just said, just another good option. I mean, if you were going to pick between the over 1.5 total bases versus the over half a total run that RT Sports Pick'em provides tonight, which would you go with?
My problem with the run, and I definitely play the run, so it's I'm not saying like I never do it, so don't take this the wrong way, is that you have to rely generally on somebody else to help you out. Now, not everybody's Ellie De La Cruz who's going to steal home and get you the run by himself. If Tommy Edman gets on base and steals second or hits a double or hits a triple, then he still needs the guys behind him to do something for him to score, where at least Tommy Edman sort of controls his own destiny there with the bat in his hand. So I probably lean the 1.5 total bags here tonight. But I get why you'd want to go the run. But either way, love Edman, love Duran there. Again, this is a spot where I didn't find myself looking to spend too far up. I'll also just mention Nicky Lopez again. He's going to hit from the left side of the plate. He's not a big power hitter. He homered off an infielder, so don't take this one home run as something that could happen again. But he did have 4 hits. He was actually getting hits off an actual starting pitcher. And as I mentioned, Clark Schmidt, a 500 slugging percentage allowed to left-handed bats tonight. So more importantly, Lopez, who hits 9th, that means right behind him, Ronald Acuna, Michael Harris, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, like the big top of the lineups, all right behind Nicky Lopez there at $2,600. So those are the 3 shortstops I had on my radar this evening, the mid and value tier.
By the way, because we were talking about Lopez before, with Albies, when I was updating the injury report earlier today on fantasyalarm.com, it seemed like the Braves were downplaying it, making like it was precautionary. We got to throw that out the window at this point here, okay? Because if somebody's being taken out of the game, they're likely going to get a test or two. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to hear that Albies is going to get tests done. That's something I don't like to hear. So precautionary, when you see any kind of report like that, just remember, throw it out the window at this point until you see the player back in the lineup. So for those that have him, be prepared for the worst at this point and make sure you're checking out Dan Malin's waiver wire piece as well.
100%, 100%. Moving on over to the outfield, the most exciting position on the board here this evening. Again, guys at the top, Ronald Acuna, $6,700. Shohei Ohtani, 66. Aaron Judge against Max Fried. We haven't really touched upon the Yankees or Fried matchup here tonight. 6,400 for him. Corbin Carroll at 6K. Soto, Adolis, this top-tier talent up and down the board, Fensty.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the two names that stick out for me is actually not going to be the top price guys. I'm going to be actually looking at Julio Rodriguez and, of course, Corbin Carroll as well. The one thing with Corbin Carroll, though, and look, he's in the ballpark to do it, but if you look at his last number of games, actually really throughout August, he hasn't really gone deep in a while, man.
Yeah,
That's
tell me about it.
Him.
As somebody that has Corbin Carroll on their currently plummeting roto team, I need him to snap out of it in this series big time here, and come back to me and bring me some of that power and OPS that I so desperately need in my lineups here. And this should, I mean, if he does not get it done against Chris Flexen tonight, then I don't even know what to say anymore. I agree. He's probably going to be the highest rostered outfielder tonight. Just given the spot here, he's going to be one-off plays in lineups where I'm not playing Arizona tonight. He's my one-off play just to get that exposure because there's just too good of a spot to pass up for him.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's for me. I feel like we're almost forced at this point. But look, you think that he's going to get on base at least. But the question is, guy hasn't gone yard since July 25th.
Right. He gets on base. He can steal 2 bags still. Like he does everything. So I'm with you. You can obviously always play Acuna. What are your thoughts, though, on the Yankees on Fried? Do you like Fried at all tonight against the Yankees? How are you approaching this matchup?
Man, when it comes to Max Fried tonight and the Yankees, I don't know what the heck to think when it comes to this Yankees team anymore. I mean, they're very damaged at this point. And with Fried, here's the other thing. I don't know how deep into this game Fried is going to go at this point. I mean, is he going to be able to get through 6 or not against this Yankees team? I mean, right. We saw him 4 against the Pirates. I mean, look, he was out for a while. We're talking 3 months at this point here. But in the 2 starts that he's been back for, I mean, 1 good, 1 not so good here, man. So when it comes to Fried, just talking about him, despite the Yankees' woes, I'm not going near Fried. I'll go after him, but I probably want some mid-tier price bats from the Bronx Bombers if I'm going to attack it. What about you with Judge tonight?
Yeah, again, he's a one-off play because he's always liable to go for a home run or 2, right? And on a slate like this where no one's going to be playing him, I think there's also some just intrigue there because if Carroll does keep struggling or Acuna doesn't go off, then Judge could be the guy to kind of put you over the top at low rostership, but not a guy I'm targeting for my lineups personally. I do like Adolis here at 58. Again, hitting cleanup for the Rangers. I think the Rangers are a pretty good stack to get against Sandoval. But then the mid-tier, there's a group of guys right here. Lourdes Gurriel, $4,500. Michael Harris, $4,400. Brian Reynolds, $4,300. Love all 3 of those guys when it comes to building lineups here tonight. Again, Michael Harris, I wrote up. Lourdes Gurriel, I wrote up, and Reynolds is in the draft grid, the playbook grid here tonight. So this mid 4K range is pretty strong.
What about Nootbaar as well? Who's been hitting a lot.
Yeah, listen, Nootbaar, the one thing with him, again, I know the lefties are hitting well against Sears. Nootbaar doesn't really hit lefties too well himself.
263, I was looking at that.
Yeah, they got him hitting 7th tonight too, which is a bit of a downgrade, but I'm fine playing the most of these Cardinals. Nootbaar probably ranks just outside my 4-man stacks, but if you want to be different tonight, again, I think the lefties for St. Louis are going to be the different, the contrarian plays. A lot of people, Tyler O'Neill's down here at $3,700. They're going to be plugging in Tyler O'Neill. They're going to be playing, Nolan Arenado. They're going to be playing Wilson Contreras. They'll probably play Paul Goldschmidt tonight, even though I think that's a guy that I would look to fade. So I'm with you. If you want to play some of these lefties here, like a Nootbaar, like a Nolan Gorman, I think they could be contrarian and still get that exposure.
Speaking of lefty hitters, I mean, what about still in that mid-4 tier range, 4K range? What about Brandon Nimmo? I mean, another guy, we're not seeing the home runs, we're not seeing the RBIs, but he's getting on base. Another guy who's riding a hit streak of 5 games. But that's really all we're getting from him. So, would you be okay, 4,300, getting fewer than, let's say, 8 points from him tonight?
Yeah, I think no would be only in this particular spot just because he's at the price point wedged between a couple of guys that I like at the same cost, right? So there's no value to me taking Nimmo at 43 when Harris is 44, Gurriel is 45. or Reynolds is 43, because I think all three of those guys just have higher ceilings than him tonight. So not in on the Mets for me outside of Alonso probably, and maybe Alvarez, because he does have some power against righties against Priester. But he is leading off. So if you want to be different tonight, I bet the Mets are contrarian going up against Priester here. The Prince tuned in a little late. You want to know what our favorite FanDuel starting pitcher was tonight? I was a little bit surprised to see the cost over on FanDuel, where Scherzer wasn't the top price guy. So Max is where I'm going to go here tonight, the Prince. But you could go Glass now. You could go Scherzer. We're our top two. Fency and I were a little bit split on Logan Gilbert, and the wind is blowing out 15 to 20 miles an hour in Kansas City. So that game will be a little bit too risky for Gilbert here tonight. Yu Darvish was also another guy I'd be willing to take a little shot on if you're looking for a FanDuel pitcher here this evening. Looking under 4K Fency, name me out some outfielders on your radar.
Man, I was still looking at pitching him with Michaelis, who you put there in your playbook, still on FanDuel there.
Cheap play for Michaelis. Yeah, if you wanted to be a little different again. I don't know if he has the strikeout potential you want for FanDuel, but if he does get the quality start and the win, he could give you 35, 40 fantasy points probably.
Jeff McNeil, who qualifies there, I talked about him before. What about someone, I mean, we talked about the Yankees before against Fried, but what about Harrison Bader? It's been, again, in every other game for him lately, but very, very cheap at 3,300.
Yeah, if you're not a believer with Fried, coming back from that injury, Bader makes a lot of sense here, obviously. The recent numbers hitting almost 300 during that stretch here. So 4 stolen bases is nice to see. He had some power early on, hasn't had a ton of power lately, but get the Atlanta Heat. The humidity could be a spot for him to show out. So that's not a terrible call. I mentioned Tyler O'Neill already mentioned. Eddie Rosario, again, just kind of stacking lefties here against Clark Schmidt. Again, I know he's slumping a bit. He had some success a few games ago, but would be willing to go back to the well with Eddie Rosario at $3,900 for the Braves. We talked O'Neill, as I said already. Who's the other one? Cade Marlowe here against Brady Singer. Now that we know that wind is blowing out the way it is, another lefty power bat going up against Brady Singer here, 367 with a 906 OPS his last 10 games. Had that home run a little bit ago, but Marlowe, I think, is a pretty interesting play tonight at 3,400.
2,900, Henry Davis. Yep. Keep your expectations kind of low, but if we're really stacking and going stars and scrubs, here's your scrub right here, hitting 5 of his last 6 games. Also scoring runs as well. So we were talking about some of our concerns with some of the higher priced guys like Corbin Carroll, for instance, a few minutes ago. Yeah. This guy's actually scoring runs. So he's doing more than just getting on the bags there. So I'm very intrigued. And again, very high total tonight in that Pirates-Mets game.
Yeah, and listen, Connor Joe's only $100 more and he's leading off for them. So if you want to really go Pittsburgh, and again, you'll read the Fantasy Alarm playbook. I have Pittsburgh in there as one of my favorite stacks tonight as a contrarian play. I think it's doable here. He's leading out. Where's Brian Hayes playing then? Hayes is hitting 3rd tonight, so I kind of like the fact they moved him down a little bit of more of a favorable spot in the order there. So yeah, Pittsburgh against Carrasco, pretty interesting for some value there. Jack Swinski, a big power guy, $3,300 there. Again, going back to that win, MJ Melendez was a guy that I was off, but now that the wind is the way it is, I might be back on Melendez. To your point, the way the Royals are hitting, a lot of that has to do with the middle of their lineup. Melendez, 4 homers the last 10 games for him and 1,100 OPS. So a lot of power there coming out of that Royals lineup of late.
Yes, and by the way, if all of a sudden Logan Gilbert has I believe that was his career high, the 12 strikeouts.
Yeah.
But if he has 15 tonight, feel free to use me as a target at that point and throw as many darts.
Listen, I'm verbal retweeting you on the Royals and just kind of the fade on Gilbert here tonight. So don't worry about it, man. I'm with you on it.
That's the one thing, man. It's the freaking Royals. But, I mean, you look in the last few weeks, they're a top 3 hitting team.
Listen, the Royals are just a young team that have guys that had a lot of upside, but young teams take a little bit to kind of fall into their own, and maybe things are just starting to click for them all at once. Melendez, Bobby Witt, Michael Massey, Michael Garcia leading off for them. Those guys are starting to come around. And think about it. They're missing Vinny Pasquantino, who's supposed to be their second best player behind Bobby Witt. This lineup really could be doing some damage if he was part of that group there. So any other value outfielders you want to throw out, Fence, before we get to our calls?
I think it might be lineup time at this point here because, again, 2,900 is where is right now the low. We also talked about, you did mention Nicky Lopez before, 2,600. So we're going to go a little bit lower. There you go at 2,600.
I agree. One of these days, I'll get a transition for this, Fancy, but it's Call of Fame time. Going to talk about our home run call, top stacks, contrarian stacks, start of the night, and value play of the evening. Give me your home run call to lead off. We'll go back and forth on this one.
Sure. Ketel Marte, it was decided between him and Carroll, but Carroll just hasn't been going yard lately. That could change tonight, but someone who has been a little bit more and still hitting the ball very nicely. Ketel Marte is my home run guy for the night. What about you?
Yeah, I'll stick with you. I know it's Coors Field, and sometimes we disclude Coors Field from the home run call, but I put them in there too because this is just too good of a spot not to go with them. So Ketel Marte to homer tonight. His price is at plus 350. I'm going Lourdes Gurriel. Lourdes tonight's plus 340 to homer for me. So we're both in on the home runs against Chris Flexen this evening. What's your top stack this evening, Fence?
I mean, I think everybody that's in the chat right now or watching the stream could really think about it and understand. Just all in on those Cardinals tonight, man. It's, again, I try to find those teams that are good at hitting those lefties when we generally do the Call of Fame. Tonight, that's St. Louis for me.
Yep, 100%. I agree with you there for my non-core stack. D-backs, obviously part of the core stack. And I think Braves are going to be pretty interesting as well. For contrarian stack, for me, I like the Rangers. And then we've talked a lot about Pittsburgh.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, we can agree with together here.
You know why, John? Carlos Carrasco sucks at pitching, and he's on my favorite team, and I can't stand it.
No, I agree with you 100%. Again, as we kind of kept on moving along here, I was like, it's kind of a good point against Carrasco. This guy's
we were like, what about value tonight? And then we're like, Sawinski. And then you were like, we got Davis. We're rolling off half these guys. Hey, it's cheap. It's almost, I don't want to say it's like a free token or anything, but they've got multiple cheapies there.
So here's the thing, right? Over the last 30 days, this is a 5-start span for Carlos Carrasco. These are how identical the numbers are for splits. Against left-handed hitters, Carlos Carrasco, last 5 starts, 444 WOBA, 611 slugging percentage allowed, a 389 batting average. Against righties, 431 WOBA, 596 slugging percentage, 404 batting average allowed. So lefties, righties, it doesn't matter. They're all hitting like 400 with a 600 slug against this man. He has a 892 FIP against left-handed hitters over the last 30 days. That is a number I didn't think was possible when it comes to FIPs there. So you want to talk about left-handed power tonight. All the switch hitters they're going to have in that lineup for the Pirates with Sawinski hitting from the left side, Hayes hitting from the other, or Reynolds hitting from the left side, Endy Rodriguez, our guy Mark's value catcher is going to hit from the left side here tonight for Pittsburgh. So Pirates contrarian stack for me this evening, and you as well. Love that call. What's your top overall player of the night?
Top overall play for me is probably going to have to go with, I got a good feeling. I got this feeling about Corbin Carroll tonight.
Okay.
I do. I know we've been kind of trashing the home runs lately, but again, great matchup. Flexen stinks. Hasn't gone yard in about 3 weeks at this point. Think that tonight we're going to be seeing Corbin Carroll mash.
Love it. I did Matt Olson. He was covered the playbook again. Clark Schmidt, 500 slugging percentage allowed to lefties. Is it cheating because I took the home run leader? Maybe, but that's where I'm going. And then my value play of the night, Tyler O'Neill, $3,700, $3,600, one of the two, going up against JP Sears. Where are you at for your value play?
His teammate, Wilson Contreras, maybe my favorite play overall tonight at 3,600. Again, crushes lefties, going to crush Sears tonight.
All righty, let's build a lineup here. We got a couple of minutes left in the show for everybody. Where did you want to go pitching, Scherzer or Glass? Now we're going to plug in Mikolas here.
Yes, I was going to say put in Mikolas. I like Glass now a little bit better because of just how poor the Giants' bats have been over the last few weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm good with it. We both agree on Wilson Contreras here. Yep. We're going to need to find some value. So let's go Buddy Kennedy at second probably then, because we want Arenado at third, I would assume.
Yes.
All right. First base, we didn't have a value first base, so we're going to be
I know. I figured we're spending up for that, which is why you skipped it. I mean, do you want to go with Olsen at 65 or save over $1,000 and go with Christian Walker?
Yeah, I think we got to go Christian Walker just for the value here. Shortstop, we have Edman or Duran or Nicky Lopez. We might need Lopez for the savings here.
Right.
$4,100 a play. We definitely had some value down here. Jack Sawinski was 33. That gives us these two guys here, which not to take over the segment here, Fensty, but I love Michael Harris and I love Lourdes Gurriel. So gives us 3 Diamondbacks here tonight. Walker, Kennedy, Gurriel. Gives us Atlanta here with Michael Harris and Nicky Lopez. We got our power from the Pirates here, Jack Sawinski. We got our Cardinals, Contreras, and Arenado here this evening. Any objections, Justin?
I have no objections, especially on the value side tonight. It's weird to think that all of a sudden I'm becoming like a Pirates value snob at this point here. But again, that's what happens when you got crappy pitching on the hill. You got what we were talking about with the weather too, but also when it comes to this game being 10.5, the runs are going to be scored in this game.
Oh, yeah. Runs will be in fact.
It's like you can almost run that game stack. You could run a very cheap stack in a Pirate side, then you have McNeil on the other side.
Yeah, this is why I play like those 3 max lineups, because I can basically take these 3 teams and just blend just different stacks of them to kind of get my exposure to the players that I need to get into my lineup here. Those of you tuning in, again, appreciate you all joining us here. If you haven't already, click the like and subscribe button. Get those notifications turned on. We do our first look show in the morning. We're back live, 5 o'clock Eastern every single day, breaking down the slate. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, join now. Get access to all of our premium content. Includes a 7-day free trial. You get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide for free, the Fantasy Football Cheat Sheet for free when you sign up. I know fantasy football season's already here. Drafts are happening every weekend. We're only a handful of Sundays away from kickoff, so really no better time than now to become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, get into our premium Discord. I was up till 2 a.m. last night answering fantasy football questions, Spencer.
You were playing Call of Duty or whatever the hell.
Well, yeah, but I was also answering fantasy football questions in between my rounds of Call of Duty. So that's where we are. We're here for you guys in that premium Discord, so sign up, get access to us with your questions all night long. Justin, thanks for joining me here. Hopefully we can do it again soon, man.
John, if I could get on the books for you once again in about another 5,000 weeks, would love to do it.
Love to do it as well. All right, everybody, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Grinding will be back. We'll be back tomorrow. Good luck tonight. Talk to you all later.